get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Actually, it's not a happy Tuesday. I want to start out, and Rodney, he's coming. But I did want to start out saying my condolences to the community, to Nashville, to the Covenant Church. I think was the name of it, the church, the school, and everybody involved in the community, the sadness that happened yesterday. And again, my huge gratitude to the first responders and the job that they did. What a tough day it was for Nashville, and I just wanted to start out saying I'm so sorry for what had happened. It's been a tough day. It was tough. But so what we're doing here is what we're going to talk about ultimately is it's maybe not a real good time to be looking into flipping houses. That's whoops. Well, look who's here. Bear with me. Here he comes. Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Hang on.
Can you hear
And
me?
look, there he is. Hi, Rodney.
Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly well. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was just, I started out by expressing condolences of the tragedy yesterday. And so I started with that and my gratitude to the first responders. And anyway, so I've done that already, just cluing you into that. So other than that, how are you, Rodney?
I'm good. I'm good. Just going through this crazy market and trying to make it through.
There you go. It's another crazy day, huh?
It is. It's always something.
It is always something. So we've got some interesting things to go through. I was telling everybody that what ultimately we're going to talk a little bit about. Maybe this isn't a great time to be flipping houses. Talk about some of the percentages and things that happened last year that really surprised me a little bit on flipping and how much, frankly, inventory they sucked up. I don't mean in a bad way.
Right,
God bless
right.
America. But then we're going to talk about the feds and how they are talking about maybe they think that they're done raising rates. Wouldn't that be? We'll see. We'll have to see how that goes. And then I thought we'd finish off with I got some great slides from Redfin that shows what happened across 400 metros recently and the changes that we're going through. And that's what makes this show cool is stuff changes frankly every week.
Yeah.
It may sound like a broken record, but it's not.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
it is not. So we're going to start with Rodney. Oh yeah.
That's right.
Whoops. Yeah.
Hey. Did you get it?
I got it that time.
All right.
Oh.
Jump in here and tell you where we're at today. Look at this. Today is only 3 basis points down from this morning, which it's very steady, which is a little bit kind of what I was hoping to see after all of that. Just after, from the last 2 weeks with the banks and all that stuff. We'll look at the chart here. You can look at the last, here's what it looks like today. So a little bit of a rebound from where it has been. As you know, when the Fed raised the rate a quarter, honestly, it sent us signs a little bit sent us signs, I guess what the market, wouldn't you say, Andy, that it just kind of cooled it off a little bit, that we're expecting better times ahead, I should say. Would you say that?
Yeah. But I mean, there's been an argument from both sides that some were saying that he was being too aggressive with the 0.25, and others were saying that he's not. I mean, you've got both sides of the argument, which is an interesting thing. By the way, you do owe me 25 cents, and I'll take that in chicken nuggets if you don't mind.
I do. That's right. That's right. But I do like that that they've said that should be the end of their hiking, right?
Yes. And
When
that,
when we were talking about that, it's like sometimes when we're seeing the effects of these changes that they've made, it's too late. Like all the rates that they've raised for the banks the first 8 times or whatever. We're now seeing some of the negative effects from those.
and I'm really glad you mentioned that, because is that, and I don't want to put this lightly, but that appears to me to be the game, because they're trying to land a moving target, when it comes to the rates and, the human response. Remember, we've talked to death, how the economy, all of it is just an emotional response to how much money costs. I mean, that's what it is. And it's, there's greed, right? And there's, that's just what it is. It's greed and me first. And that's what makes the market crazy like it is. We're trying to get our own best interest at heart, and that's so there it is. But that brings us to the point of the argument where, if you read through what we were looking at, is the Federal Reserve now believes that its work is nearly done. And I'm going to read a couple of things in this, and this is interesting for all of us, especially for you and me in the industry that we're in, because other than maybe the banking industry with a little bit of worries going on, we've taken the worst end of it, of the beating, right?
Yeah.
And it says, an eventful day for the Federal Reserve left investors with a clear message: our work is nearly done. Now, if you have, I don't know if you've ever listened to him actually on one of his talks, he doesn't, it's like he doesn't say anything, but it's all implied, it's
right.
like, it's all implied, and everybody's running, the sky's falling or not based on the implications. So it says, at the center of the Fed's impending pause in rate hikes is a bank crisis that grows out of the Fed's own actions. And so they're seeing, I don't know that they claim that. Have you heard that? Has he claimed that? Has Jerome Powell said that?
Yeah, no, I don't think they'll ever claim that. Meaning, I don't think that he's rushing to go claim that as well, if that makes sense,
Yeah. And it's
I think it always goes back to that guy back in the early 70s or late 60s that drug this inflation problem out forever. So the next federal chairman for the next million years are going to dump these rates on us until it gets so high that, you know what I'm saying? So there's no chance of them coming in short on it.
right.
And delaying that inflation for, 10 years or like it did.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to think that I can't imagine the pressure this guy's under. I just can't imagine, because as far as he's concerned, these are smart people. They are smart people. I don't care who you are. Him and his board of 12, those are some smart people. But they've got smart people looking at him going, hey.
Yeah, they've got millions of people looking at them, and especially mortgage people from YouTube, right, with the real expertise, right? Looking over global policy.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, yeah.
And I kind of, it's not an I told you so, but remember I told you that home prices dropped year over year. They're less a little bit than they were last year. It was the first time it's happened in 10 years. Well, man, have you seen the videos popping up, like the world is ending. It's going to be, there's one, I could show you, I'm going to show it anyway, because it's here. I know Angie doesn't like this, but I'm going to show it. Hopefully it'll come through. Hang on. The secondary eCam, Google Chrome. Correct. Housing market crash alert. Mark your calendars for today. I mean, there's
That was a
and
good
today.
headline. I read that article. That was a good headline for a totally misleading article.
It could be. And did you read the Case Shiller report was released? It was released. Housing did, getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Housing did continue to decline, which surprise. Wow, knocked me over with a feather, right?
Right.
And there's so many people, and I respect them, hang their hat on Case Shiller, which is one way of measuring the market. It's only resales, and it's only single family homes, and it's either 10 cities or 20 cities. That's
Right.
it. There's new construction. There's no townhomes. There's nothing else. I mean, it's very specific. And I think what they're trying to do is control the best they can a crazy number market. But they were down. So we'll see what the videos are the next couple of days. I know it's a couple of guys that are just screaming bloody murder. It's going to fall apart, and we'll be fine. You watch.
Yeah, they're still right.
They'll fall apart. So it says during the press conference, this is how subtle this guy is. This guy's subtle. During a press conference on Wednesday, Fed Chair Jerome Powell sought to distance the broader banking system from Silicon Valley, which had been the 16th largest bank in the U.S. before being taken into receivership on March 10th after suffering tens of billions in deposit outflows. If I'm not mistaken, what started the whole thing was they had some stock that they had that started to tank. Isn't that from interest rates? I believe that was probably the case. That was part of it. At a basic level, then he jumps on them. Silicon Valley Bank failed badly, Powell. They grew the bank very quickly, and they exposed the bank to significant liquidity risk at a great interest rate risk. Well, who had his fingers all over the interest rates, I wonder? I guess.
One of the things that they looked at, he had mentioned that some possible legislation might come out of from this is that they were all connected, or a lot of them were connected. The big depositors of this bank were connected.
Yes.
And so they all made a run at the same time on the bank, meaning that they knew each other had billions with this bank. So they all went and got it at the same time. And excuse me, that's what, that was obviously part of the problem too.
Well, yeah, because banks, like you said, banks by default don't have enough money to cover if everybody wanted to get their money out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how could you make money? That wouldn't make sense. But I think what you're talking about is categorically that bank helped startups and venture capitals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they would, in those kinds of business, they balloon quickly and they sometimes collapse quickly. How many 100 times have we seen that through the internet age,
Yeah.
And so if somebody yells fire in that group of people, they're all trying to put it out quick, And the one thing, what they're saying, because here's the whole point of this thing. The tech sector, and I think that's what we're talking about. Tech sector has been punished by rising rates, a dynamic that first meant big tech stocks stopped going up. Boy, say that 5 times fast. And more speculative venture projects were funded less enthusiastically. Anyway, so in other words, the Fed's forecast doesn't call for higher rates because the impact additional rate hikes might impose on financial markets and the economy are already being felt. Look at the Fed's forecast, and we see a central bank that believes its work raising rates is nearly done. And I think that if we look at it, big picture, they're waiting for something to break. When these rates are going up and going up, he's waiting for something to break. And this was probably...
He's waiting for something to stop it.
Yeah.
He's waiting for something to because inflation hadn't given him the numbers he's wanted, right? You
Yeah,
know, so yeah, he's finally got okay. Well, our banking system, is or a couple of them has taken a couple really big hits, and
right. And
and a
it's
lot of
and
this,
it's
what I'm seeing is a lot of it's mismanagement too. It's not like these people grew too fast. It's like the standard blueprint of how you do things, risky, kind of, So
and can we and honestly, can we blame them? Not really, because the market's been so fat, and all I mean, money was almost free, not really, but almost. You'd have very wealthy people say, I'd rather borrow at 2% than use my own money. I mean,
yeah,
it was
right.
pretty, it was easy to make money, relatively speaking, over this past little bit. And then all of a sudden, it's not, I get it. I mean, I get it, which is going to lead us into the flipping aspect of things. So the good news, we'll leave it at this, is simply that they seem to think their tendency now, every time he talks, his tendency is going to be to not scare people anymore, to maybe give them hints that maybe we're going to stay flat. I sure don't see any rates getting cut.
No, not right now. No, just leave it alone for a minute. Let's see what all of these what he's done for the last year, how it takes effect. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Let's see how it works.
Yeah, and just like what Angie says too, she says here, you've and one of the other things that he's got to watch for, and we're all kind of watching for, is that unemployment, which just doesn't seem to be. It's just not paying attention. They're just the economy, in your words, is still doing very well. So that's a good thing. So the next, let's talk about. Bear with me here. I'm having trouble flipping around. You can see my face get really bright. It's because my screen turns white. So the next topic, and Rodney, you'd know a lot about this, is flipping properties. Now, over the last couple of years, it was mostly cash people buying flippers, but were there a lot of loans going through of people flipping properties?
Yeah, we were seeing the back end, obviously, of the flip situation, but not like they said. Was that like 58% of the market, from 21 to 22? We didn't see that, um, but we obviously seen a lot of flipping and things like that. But I wanted to ask you about this because this article about the flipping is pretty wild, really.
Yep.
Basically, the article saying that you might want to put a pause on flipping. There's a lot of areas where flipping isn't where the market just isn't right to flip houses.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at these profits, I have never known flippers to make the kind of profits that they're talking about in this article. I mean, I thought we got to a point one time in Nashville, probably about 15 years ago, that these people were doing it for like 10 and 15,000. That they were buying the house, and they were doing the work to make that money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like it wasn't like Redfin coming in and trying to do their flipping, and they got
Right.
caught with all that iBuyer and all that stuff. But
Yep.
what are your thoughts on that profit? Because I just didn't see them making that much on these houses.
Well, I think I think number one, the issue is going to be how well a person's business is run, and are they choosing the right properties? Because if I go buy a house A in the Nations and it's one of the originals versus one of the tall skinnies, you don't know what you're getting into. You break into a wall and it's filled with rot or God, Lord knows what, right? It just depends on how well the business is run, what their profit's going to be. Because I've talked to flippers, in the last few years, and their margin was like razor, just what you're talking about. It was razor thin. If any, I mean, a new paint job would have been enough to like push them over the edge for some of those guys. And they'd say, I can't add a deck because it would be coming out of my own pocket, that kind of stuff. However, here's what the article, and what made me, what interested me is how many people over the last year and a half, buyers, home buyers specifically, that they were trying to buy their own home, were saying, we don't have a chance because the corporate flippers are coming in and mom and pop flippers, which is, I'm pretty sure is the majority of it, are buying a lot of the properties right out from under them. And I have to tell you that there's probably more accuracy to that than maybe I saw initially.
Yeah.
Because these folks.
Yeah, because it says from 21 and 58% from 2020.
Well, if you read the whole thing, flips compromised roughly 8.4% of all home sales in 2022. 8.4%. Now they say first-time buyers is close to 30%. It's down 26%. So first-time buyers is down for obvious reasons. Houses too expensive, it's too expensive. But 8.4% is a pretty good chunk of properties, the highest percentage since 2005, right? According to Adam, and more than 407,000 single-family homes and condos were flipped last year. Well, how many millions of homes were sold last year? 2.5, something like that. I don't know what it was. I have to look that up. Up 14% from 2021, and 58%. That's where you're getting it from 2020. So that in those 2 years, everybody was getting in.
Yeah, I mean that, and it's just, I'm just confused. Help me out here. I'm confused with it. It's up 58% in 2020. All right, never mind. It's going backwards. Okay, 20 and 21 is up 14%. Okay, I'm thinking 2020. I'm thinking 2020 and 22 are the difference of the years. So
correct. All they're saying is that it's up 58% from 2020 to 2022. That's all they're saying.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's just a opposite for me, because when home sales are going up, why is flipping going up? When home prices are going up, how is that getting flippers more?
Well, because I think we're saying the same thing. Maybe not. Maybe we'll arrive at a different destination. In my opinion, and I wish we had a flipper on here. I bet Philip is there. I should get him on here. We should send him a link just to have him on. Philip, tell me if I'm right. For the people that are just raw flipping, their goal is to buy a house, paint it up a little bit, fix it up minimally. Let's talk Zillow. Did they do a lot? No. Did Open Door do a lot? No. But they always clean and fresh paint, and the yard always looked nice. But they would buy a house, and in 3 or 4 months, the value would go up so fast that they could resell that for a profit. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point. Because
they're trying to use a little lipstick on the property and catch it when the equity is rising.
that was the whole thing. Because during a year and a half, I know properties that were going up $10,000 a month. Stupid numbers. Like what? It's like if you didn't buy a house in March, it was up $40,000 in June. To be a good flipper, you need to take a distressed property and go through it. And that's what we're talking about. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. But the other part of that formula is you have to have a seller that doesn't recognize the value that they have.
Right. In our market, you just had to be a seller.
Yeah.
You didn't care about the condition of the property. You just sold it.
Yep. And that did turn out to be the case after a while. Remember about a year ago, it was almost a year and a half ago, And somebody was asking, we all ask for predictions. I do too, and but in this case, I got one right, and it was a couple of years ago. Somebody was asking me, where are property values going to rise the most significantly in the next 2 years? And I said, just keep an eye on 37013. Just watch it. I mean, because I love the Antioch community. They're nice people out there, but there's a lot of homes on the lower end of the spectrum. And that's where they just went nuts over there. And there was BlackRock bought thousands and thousands of property through their Progressive Realty. And that's what they did, is they bought not really neighborhoods, but 5 houses off of a street, And flipping expensive houses is a recipe for disaster. I would expect that to be the case. But I saw an article the other day that the hottest market in the area is now 37013. I mean, that's where it is,
That's for our area, that's news. It's always been an area that I feel like people's try to avoid just because it felt like maybe the school district wasn't as good or whatever.
Yeah, and they've always been painted with this brush that I don't understand, because when you go over there, it's like any city in America. Maybe there's some areas that are a little different. I'm just going to say it. Williamson County kind of is that way, where it's pretty nice throughout,
Yeah.
But some areas they're a little bit tougher areas and a little bit nicer areas, and that's
Right.
There's give and take. Boy, Antioch's got a lot of that.
Yeah,
Remember
I grew up
North?
in Antioch, so I can say that, or you can say that.
Who
Now,
was
I
the
will
guy?
say that people made fun of us back in the day in Antioch for being farmers. Now it's more of like, I don't want to say inner city or whatever, but yeah, it was just like we were just poor, lower class people, right? So we wasn't, so, but
Hey,
yeah,
Terry
that's where
DeSelms started out in Antioch. I mean, there's some very, very accomplished, and I like Antioch, and I like the people over there,
Yeah.
and I think that you're finding that brush that we're talking about that people get painted with, that ain't around so much anymore. There's nice neighborhoods, nice new neighborhoods over there. Remember back in the day, back in like the last half of the 2000s, when Harold Wilson just was going down the streets up in North Nashville? You go down there, it'd be there's roll-offs all over the place, him and Wilson.
I don't remember that. No, not
Oh,
North Nashville.
man. I mean, because that used to be the toughest of the tough places. There was a lot of stuff going on, and he'd put those big roll-offs out there and gut those houses and build them back up. And we'd go show houses, and there'd be a house that was just as pretty as a peach next to a house that had boarded up, and this is all just before the stuff broke loose,
Yeah.
But he did. I think his daughter Christy is living off his legacy, meaning she does very well. She's a super smart lady, super smart. But anyway, so I think that we have, the River Project may really bump. Yeah, there you go. The river, you've heard about that River Project where they're going to, I think, build a bridge up north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because if you want to find increasing values, you got to go to the places where the value doesn't exist. You have to create it, You're not going to go to Green Hills and create a bunch of value. It's already there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what people go tear down $800,000 houses to be on a 2-acre lot and put up a $4 million house,
Yeah.
So if you're in the flipping business, as my friend Philip here says, think twice, especially if you're going high end, right, Philip? Expensive house, recipe for disaster.
Well, that's if your strategy, because I didn't think that equity improvement over a short period of time was a flipper's profit strategy. I thought they, I kind of thought that they were trying to pick good houses, which I thought they were too hard to find anyways, putting some lipstick on it, maybe even a bedroom or whatever, and then flip, and then, or maybe even redoing the whole interior of it, but not.
And that's true. What you're saying is absolutely true. But what I'm telling you, the icing on the cake that nobody knew about, until 21 was hit, and people were going, huh? People were multiple offers with multiple tens of thousands of dollars over asking. What? Because you are correct. You find me a house that has been what we call deferred maintenance. It was either a rental or it was more expensive than they could handle and they couldn't do the maintenance and it started to wear out after 10 years or so. You show me a house like that and fix it up so that it matches the quality of the rest of the neighborhood. There's your flip. There's your money,
Yeah.
But the reason everybody jumped in when we were talking about that 58%, I'm going to finish this thought and then add Angie's thoughts in here, that the reason it got so thick, meaning there was so much competition and prices frankly went up so much, is because their money was literally growing on, not literally, but it's growing on trees. You fix a house, you paint a house, and 3 months later it's worth a bunch more than you paid for it. Right. And you didn't have any contingencies, it's just nuts. Let's see what Angie has to say here.
And my husband's you finance it for a little bit cheaper back then, at that point.
Yep. Usually a regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes that speak to the majority. That's exactly right. You're looking for the basic family that is trying to, usually move up is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get out of a rental and move up. It's a starter home, maybe we call it sometimes, that kind of a thing. But it seems like this market would lend itself to, maybe you're not going to flip so much as you're going to hold it, buy a property, rent it for a while. Because and as we went through the numbers before, we're going to go through that here in just a second, almost done, is that property value is dropping a little over almost 2%, 1.7% they went down. So if you're buying a house and the property values are going down, well, that's probably not a good formula. You're going to have to fix it up and you're going to be back to that razor thin margin again,
Right. Yeah, especially if it just goes down, if it goes down 1% on $300,000, you've got, now it's $3,000 of your profit,
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly right. So that leads us to the, and this is pretty interesting. So we're almost done. Just making sure we haven't missed anything. Betting on equity is really problematic now. That's exactly right. And it used to be just everything. And there's a lot of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of people got stuck with properties they were trying to flip and they probably had to turn them into rentals. Maybe that's the case. Because there's a lot of people, with rates being what they are and housing being so expensive, there's a lot of people that would have been a first-time buyer that are converting into rentals. You can't drive around Franklin around here without hitting a rental apartment complex that is coming out of nowhere. I mean, down your direction, Carruthers and all that kind of stuff. Jeez Louise, they're everywhere. Okay, so the last topic we have, and I got a bunch of slides for this. Again, Redfin is a competitor in terms of real estate. It's a good company. Hey, they're taking their licks like everybody else, and they seem to be holding their own. They're okay. But the one thing that I respect as much as anything about Redfin is they do data really well. So, if they're caught by surprise, then we're all caught by surprise is what I'm getting at. And what they did is they looked at 400 metro areas so that we could kind of homogenize what's actually happening in the marketplace. And I thought some of these were pretty interesting. I'm going to go through some of these slides. So let's see how this works. Have we missed anything up to this point, Rodney?
No, we went.
We're good?
Right through the, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Over the past year, median home sales have gone down 1.7%. So that creates that argument for, is it going to be down another month? Well, we just got the Case-Shiller report that said it was down in January. Now that's lagging. Now keep in mind, I want to back up one thing before we tear into this. There's leading indicators and lagging indicators. And the leading indicators, they tell you what probably should happen. So the leading indicators for our market is for the weekend in March 23rd. I know that's a little bit of a lag, 5 days. Fixed mortgages rate dropped 6.42. Okay, it's up to 6.60. Daily average was 6.4 on March 23rd, so it's a little bit higher than that. What do we know already? There's going to be probably fewer applications. Probably. It's what's going to happen. Mortgage purchase applications they increased 2% from a week earlier, and that is because the week before was a dip. It was a better rate, and so people go out and apply. So we go. And then, but then here's the good one. Google searches for homes for sale. It's up 48% from the trough they hit in December during the week ending March 18th, but down 13% from a year ago. Anyway, you slice it, 48% up for homes for sale. We've got a lot of people getting ready to make that buying decision.
Yeah, and what's crazy is about all these other, like, that's the only stat that, like, isn't seriously tied to something, right? Like 13%, of what actually happened. That home for sale going up 48% was the biggest thing that hit me in that whole article right there. The Google search, because
absolutely
that's what people are doing, right? So that's exciting to see that went up 48%.
It is, and we keep talking about this week after week, and I hope I never die, never stop talking about it. We've got pent up demand, and people are just waiting for the stars to align, and it's gonna, Powell's gonna start sweating again because the money's gonna start flying around in an uncomfortable way. So, and the final thing was the touring activity, which is a company called Showing Time. There we go. Showing Time is a company that helps real estate agents schedule home tours, home showings, and they're up 18%. I mean, if you look at Google, homes for sale is just, I'm thinking about it. That's intent, right?
Right.
You go out and you're walking around houses. That's intention. There's a difference. They're taking action, baby. So that's a good thing. All right. So so we've got database on homes listed or sold during this last year, I think is what it is, for the 4-week period ending March 19th. Here's what we've got. Here we go. So we talked about this already. The prices drop 1.7. All right. The median asking price is only up 1%. What's going to happen next month? Is it going to be 0? Maybe, maybe. But if you are a flipper wanting to earn quick profit off of the selling price of a house, that graph right there is going to make you think twice, I would think. Okay. And the home buyer payments, 19% year over year. That is, wow. I mean, that's some data right there. And it's no wonder that some folks are stumbling a little bit, right?
Right.
And feel free to jump in on that one.
Yeah. That's what's sinking us or sinking us right now. When the rates get close to 7, the mortgage applications and the real estate just stop.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
at 19%, though, goodness gracious, that's just a big increase over a year.
That's a big chunk. That's a chunk of change right there, buddy. But big picture, big picture. Well, we started this broadcast, by the way, for anybody that cares, we now are a podcast. So Rodney, whether you know it or not, we're tripling our effort. We're a podcast now. So
All right.
Thank you. Good deal. But we started off this broadcast with the idea that Jerome Powell and his crew seem to think that rates don't need to be going up anymore. Although it's not directly tied to that 19%, there's a connection. I'm going to have to.
Yeah, sure there is, yes.
I mean, yes, that they're going to say that all day long. It's not directly connected, which is not. It's just a response, but it's there. So pending sales down 17% year over year. How come? Rates are high. People can't afford houses like they used to. Pending, if nobody's making an application, nobody's signing a contract. I think that's pretty much.
That's how that works, isn't it?
That's sort of A to B. New listings. Whoops, the guy's trying to get away from me. New listings of homes, 22% less year over year. How come? Why is that happening? Because if I was, whoops, there we go. Sorry about that. Sorry, gang. Bing. If I had a house to sell, which I have a house, don't want to sell it, but would I sell it at 6%? Probably not. You know, I'm going to wait for it to be a snick, a little bit less. But that means there's fewer to choose from. But here new listings. Pay attention to that. New listings, active listings, plus 15% year over year. How can this be? How can this be? It's magic. What's this chicken nugget worth 25%? Get FedEx to me here in the next day or so from Rodney. So 22% less homes, and yet there's 15% because nobody's buying like they used to.
Nobody's
Houses are now
on the market.
Yep. 45, 60 days on the market. Depends on where you are. Detroit's going to be one. San Jose is going to be another. Brentwood, Tennessee is going to be a third. Tampa is going to be a fourth. Everybody's going to be different. But homes are staying on the market much longer. If you're buying a home, quick tip, pro tip, if you're buying a home and a house has been on the market longer than it needs to be, one thing I can pretty much tell you is the seller really does want to sell that house. And all they're going to be, it sounds horrible, but it means that the seller is now a little softened up. And they may be willing to accept an offer that they wouldn't a month ago. So, little tip. And here we go with this too. Now, what's going to happen though? 2.9 months of supply available. Just not so long ago, it was like 1.7. So how does this happen? This is really good. If you've got, this is crazy. We've got houses on the market. The supply seems to be going up, but the prices are going down. That's where it doesn't make sense, because usually, if the inventory is going down, the price is going up because of supply and demand, that kind of a thing. That's why this is such a weird spot. And that's why I believe, and you can correct me on this, this is where that pent-up demand shows itself. Because people want the houses, a lot of those houses that are out there, but it's 6.5%. They can't get past that. Some can, most can't. You know, that's just going to be the thing. Why are these jumping all around?
I think with one of the things though, is the good ones are still selling really quick.
Yep, I'm glad you. Yep.
You know, you still got. Okay, so you get 10 properties that go on the market. It looks, and then 8 of them are staying on a lot longer, but the other 2 had, one had multiple offers and one sold really quick. You know what I'm saying? But the other 8 are languishing on there because they're not just perfect properties or whatever, or overpriced.
Correct. That's correct. And Philip says something here too, and I don't know where this. I saw it, and I've seen it recently, and his comment is, why is the media screaming about prices falling out east and west? Northeast and west, they're falling. In the south, call it the Sun Belt, whatever you want to call it, our values are still going up. That's for sure. There's only 27 out in California, in their city, there's only 27 homes for sale. I wonder what the normal inventory is on that. But anyway, Philip, the point is the pandemic hotspots, call it Austin, call it San Jose, call it Boise, they grew really fast and now they're collapsing like crazy because the remote's gone. The buyers have dried up. I don't collapse is way too strong, but those prices are going down. So just that's what's going on. And that's kind of the trouble. You really got to mention this. As good as I like their data to paint the whole country with this, really lends itself to some inaccuracies,
Right. It always is. And I think that's why we've probably said you've said this probably a million times, how local real estate is. And it is. I mean, I kind of been watching those Florida numbers like Miami and Tampa. They're just going through the roof right now. And I'm wondering why. Is it DeSantis? What's going on? I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. Why is Florida also going up, and out, like Idaho and all those places are going backwards.
You show me, I won't get political, but you show me a state that doesn't have income taxes, and I'll show you migration. We talked about that last week. The migration, where was it coming from? LA, Chicago, New York. Lovely places, high taxes, Where are they coming? Yeah. They're coming here. They're Florida, Texas, It's even though their property tax is a little bit tough. Anyway, just got to be. I'm trying to be careful about painting with too broad of a brush. Homes sold above the final listing price. These are jumping all over on me. They're down, but they're still happening. 25% of homes, and this is what you're saying, and that's a really good number right there. 25% of homes sold above the final list price. That is, and how do we describe that? It's priced correctly and it's move-in ready. Those are the ones. That's the ones. 4.8% of listings had price drops. 4-week rolling average shares home. And with all that, what does that mean? What does that mean? As far as I'm concerned, those are sellers with a hot market hangover that are facing reality. That's what they're doing. They're learning a little bit at a time. How come my house isn't selling? Because it's priced too high. It's that's the only variable. Here we go, almost done. Average home sold for 98.5% of final list price. The average home. That's a high percentage of houses selling for a pretty good number.
Right. Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody complains about that.
I mean, it matches, it's like, okay, well, there's only 1% drop in sales price. I mean, so it kind of matches that number, doesn't it? I mean, it kind of all goes together with that.
And what usually doesn't enter the conversation is the 40% increase in value they've gotten the last 2 years. Yeah. I'm only getting 98%. God. Yo, wait. And that is it. That's the end of the slides. But I just thought it all looks good to me, meaning if those numbers weren't going down, there's only one thing Jerome Powell would have in his basket of goodies, and that'd be another 0.75% rate.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's stopped the housing market pretty good. I mean.
Yep. So, I mean, that was that's pretty full day. I mean, for our show and everything. But I mean, we started with, I consider that to be the best news possible. And everything after that is evidence of what I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying it's the fallout of the high interest rates, all of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they've been saying what they was going to do for a while. It's we're living it. So it's
Yeah,
hopefully we are at the end of it, because it's been a nice little ride for the for the rates.
it has been, and we know where tolerance is. You show me as soon as the rates touch 6 for real, where you've shown us your candle chart and all that kind of stuff, where it starts to hover there, it's going to be like SpaceX again. I mean, we're going to be off and running again, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Anyway, I talked too much on this. I got excited about that one. I'm all sweaty.
got excited about your slides. I like it.
They're jumping all over the place. What's going on with that? And hey, we got through the whole show without any technical concerns.
Yeah, but I was a minute late or so, but other than that, we're professional YouTubers.
That's correct. We are podcasters as well now. So yes, sir. Oh man. Any final thoughts there, Mr. Rodney?
No, I really like. I just feel like we're in a good spot as far as really like the finally hearing it from the feds is like, hey, we may be at the end of this thing for us manipulating it, right, and letting the market dictate itself for a while. So I'm excited about that.
Although he didn't really say that.
Well, yeah, I know what he said, but when UBS had to buy Credit Suisse out, I think they're done with the rate hikes for banks.
Yeah, it's made it across, and that's not funny, but it's made it across the pond is what you're getting at. We don't want this to be a global.
I just think it all ties together. So, but I think he's also got housing where he wants it. He's got where a first-time home buyer can go and negotiate.
Yeah.
And it's not
100%.
so out of balance. You remember what he said? He said home buying was out of balance, and we got more balance.
We do have more balance, and what's going to happen? What's going to happen though is, and this is going to take quite a while, I think, to adjust, is that we're looking at 2.6 or 2.9 months of inventory, I think is what it was, something like that. Well, and it's still a seller's market, but not nearly as much as that normally would tell you.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 houses, the people who price it really good and have a really clean property, those are the still ones that's going to get whatever they want.
And all that will happen is inventory will rise, buyer numbers will rise, and when we get to that 5 and 6 months balance, where they call that a balanced market, where you're only bargaining on the house and nothing external, no external pressure. That's what we're going to be watching, that days on market, that inventory, that absorption rate. So we're okay. Good. Have fun, Rodney. It's so good to see you. You look great, man. Office looks good.
Yeah, it's my wall behind me here. We're still in the decorating stage, so I don't know if I'm going to do a TV back there, some pictures.
Ooh.
I don't know yet.
I bet you could do a monitor back there that you could control and we could all watch.
A what?
A monitor.
Oh, a big monitor back there?
Ooh.
Yeah, just put I can put my TV back there and just shoot my screen back there, watch myself.
Well, okay, whatever. Hey, listen, everybody, thank you very much for joining with us today. Ange, thank you. Philip, I know Wendy's hiding around in there someplace. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us today. Today was a lot of fun, and we will talk to you all next week. See you, Rodney.
See you.